Welcome to yet another episode of Mental Wellness Insights, bringing sunlight into mental health. We continue with the story of Beatrice Elizabeth. In the first episode of her story, which was aired about 2 weeks ago, Betty narrates to us the traumatic experience she had in the hands of an uncle, her auntie's husband, whom she looked upon as a father. In this episode, we have invited psychologist Josephine and Pastor Kimani to analyze issues that are arising from such trauma, which is very common and most of which is never reported. If you have not watched the first episode of Betty, please go back and watch it so that you understand what this analysis is all about. We kindly invite you to help us spread the word regarding mental health through subscribing and sharing widely. Please remember to comment, like, and click on the notification bell. Now I want to introduce the real trauma. The part that Betty was left to in the custody of the auntie, who has a husband. They're living together. She's looking upon him as a father figure. Then he defiles her. I want us to talk about issues relating to that.
Okay, when you talk about a case like that for defilement, for a child, it can actually be a very traumatic experience. Because anything that is traumatic is it's actually an emotional shock that this person goes through, and it can actually come about. It can result either when I have either physical injury or any other experience that could actually affect this particular child. When you look at Beatrice, unfortunately, the uncle molested her not even once, but actually twice.
Yeah.
So that is even a repeated trauma, because she said that you could hear from her the story that he came back again. So that she was trying to imagine what happened the first time, this is going to happen again. So this girl, I would say she went through trauma, unfortunately enough, and I'm not sure that was later really addressed in her life, but it can actually affect her completely, even in her growing up, in her later on relationships, in how she looks at men. Was she able to trust people once again? And I think we could hear it from her story because of really what happened at that particular time. Because this same person who was supposed to be taking care of her has actually turned against her. Not forgetting she did not have that first love when she was growing up. That parental love was missing. Now here she imagines she has found it. There is now that gap is being filled, only now that it has turned to be the other way around. So it must have been very traumatic for this child as she was growing up, and I'm sure we later on in her life we were able to see that even those struggles around relationships, maintaining a healthy one was actually a challenge. Yes.
Now, I don't know whether you really know why Jesus was saying that unless you're like a child, you're like a little child, you will not inherit the kingdom of God. Children have a tendency to trust until you break that trust. And so when this girl is taken to the uncle, she does not see him as a man. Unfortunately, the uncle sees this girl as a woman, which there's a lot of difference. There's an issue of trust. This is my uncle, so be like my mother. If you heard her later commenting, she said, I think there's even a place she told me my mother, and she had already told you about the mother who died. But she said, I used to call her mother. So definitely there was so much trust that I'm being taken to the other mother. Because when a child stays with a parent for some time, they begin calling them mother or father. I have a daughter who is in Tomboya University, and this girl calls me daddy. She calls me daddy. And though she belongs to my sister-in-law. And so it is normal. So to her, even when she calls me uncle, she sees as if it is not the right word, the right title for this person is dad. For her case, this is the situation. She trusts this man, and unfortunately, maybe because if someone is keen, somebody who is eyeing your child, you can tell the red flags. You can tell the red flags. So this aunt never really read the red flags. Maybe the way they relate, maybe the way they talk. And definitely someone who is eyeing a child, they will want to hug this child. When you come, you want to touch you. And you don't see it as red flag. So the trust was so big for this child to trust these people. So when they were left alone, especially the first night, I'm talking to someone who's concerned about my life. And there's no danger. My father is the one who's bringing me up. He's talking about stories of wanting me to study, wanting me to become a better person, and to work hard. So she could not even guess whether this man would ever change. Then when this man comes naked, and when she feels betrayed, what is happening? That moment, there must be so much confusion in this child's mind. What exactly is going on? What about the whole conversation we had just some minutes ago? What is happening to this guy? What does he want to do with me? And probably she was even a virgin by that time.
She was.
And so it's like, what exactly is going on? And when it happens, you can imagine the confusion. Even the courage to say it. Because the first thing that happens, children don't first of all see themselves as victims. They normally see themselves as the guilty party. Could I have done this? Maybe. And there is a lot of confusion because of who is involved. If it was a stranger, there was a possibility this child would have run direct and come and say, so and so has done this, or a certain strange man has done this. But this is your own uncle, someone you trust, and not only an uncle. This is your father. Yeah, I think the betrayal is so huge in this case.
Yeah. So, why do you think Beatrice could not have screamed or maybe tried to run away? She was like, she just followed. And then I'm also asking this because I've read that many times victims do not scream at that particular point. Yeah.
I think Pastor Kim has tried touching a bit on that, but we could also add and say there could be many reasons. First and foremost, prior to that event, this is a high school girl, so we're trying to imagine in high school, they're already being taught about girl-boy relationship. These are adolescents, so they're already in that stage of identity and relations, so on and so on. So having been left, as you say, like first and foremost, the auntie even having left this girl with the husband alone in the house, that was already a red flag. I mean, I wish something else could have been done just to take care of that. Either another relative would actually have joined them. But even for her, the fact that they had this session with him before the act, what happened, it was just to reassure the girl and also try to almost like tell her, if you do this, I will. It's like you are like, I'm preparing you. I'm willing to support you, but there are conditions. There are conditions here. So even as when this man was coming, remember she just had a conversation where we didn't get the nitty-gritty of what these conditions, but there would seem there were conditions here that I'm willing to support you in education if only you obey and so on and so on. So this girl is in a scenario whereby I want to finish my studies, I still need support, I still need care, so do I have to comply for this to happen? That could be one. Number two, as Pastor is saying, this is a known person to her. This is not a stranger, okay? And at times also what happens is that when for rape cases, most of the time the ones who like to say scream people write, it's a shock you did not know, you did not expect. This is somebody totally a stranger to you, and you're willing to even to seek her for help. But you could hear for her case, she was dealing with feelings of shame, guilt. Now already she's blaming herself. Okay, like I've allowed also this to happen. But over and above that, also what we can also add on and trying to imagine what Beatrice was going through is that even at that particular point when you're going through that, it can be very, very disturbing. It can be very, very distressing experience to the point it gets to what we call emotional numbness. People actually get to a point that they can't open them, they can't shout, they can't scream because of the intensity of the emotions that are just happening around you. So I believe for Beatrice, this could all be happening around her. All these thoughts that she had, what she's just gone through, what she's just been told, all these emotions around her, probably she just felt overwhelmed that she could not do what, that she couldn't scream or seek for help at that particular time. But I'm trying to imagine she had an opportunity to do that. Right? Maybe the following day when the auntie came and so on. But remembering the promises that were made, the goodies that she was promised by this uncle, probably that's what kept her just decide to be silent to make sure she finishes her, maybe her education. Yeah.
I also want you to notice that an assailant of this nature is not a spontaneous attacker. This is a man who has been eyeing this girl and probably in his heart knowing that this can happen. Now, for them to be able to stay up to late night, this is somebody who had learned the mother's pattern of traveling. And she knows that he will be leaving at this time and will come on a Sunday. And so definitely it will come on Sunday evening. And so I have a window of doing what I want. This girl is innocent and is not prepared for anything. And he's not even doubting this is a man and he can do anything. And so this is a man who has planned on how to threaten this girl. That is why before raping her or before abusing her, he had prepared her like psychologically. That's why there was that issue of promise. Why wouldn't he have promised her when the mother is there?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they stay late at night when the mother is there? It's because this is it's not something that he thought about that day. This somebody who eyes and says, she looks nice, she looks a woman, she has a mature figure according to him. And also say, if I get an opportunity, then definitely plans that this woman goes every weekend, certain place or a particular period. And there is a possibility she would even support the wife so much
to go.
But she knows what, making sure that she does not fail. Then plans that she'll be sitting with this girl. She'll be sitting with this girl for this number of time. I think they slept at 2, eh? They slept at 2. At 2, you are so certain everybody is fast asleep. And probably before you come, you are in a position that if he came naked, the point is, if she does not accept to follow me to my room, then I'll get her where she is. This is why he's coming naked. Because actually it is in the dark. So this is a man who had planned. And so even the threats and the promises were equally planned. If you dare say this, I will kill you. I'll kill you. I'll kill my wife. I'll kill you. And not even my wife. I'll kill your aunt. No, not mine. I'll kill your aunt. And so it's like, if I say this, then there is also this part of, what about me? What about the promises I've made to all these girls? What about my stand? And they know me. And by the way, that is why even Christians, some of the Christians are raped. And they keep quiet. Because what about my salvation? What about my position in church? So this girl now is in a different field. What about my education? From here, where do I go? So let me just keep quiet. And especially shame. Shame, I think, here plays the major role, even more than the threat. How will people take me when they know I'm not a virgin? How will people believe that I did not encourage him, why did I accept to sit here up to around 2 for him? Why did I also accept that we were left only 2 of us? Why couldn't I go with my aunt? And so with all these questions, it's like I would rather not say it because I could have contributed. Yeah. This man made sure that he turned the blame game to her, and he was so prepared. And that is why he had to play the innocent face, like nothing ever happened.
Well, when you look at also the life of Beatrice, I don't know who was doing a bit of teaching her in simple life skills, like self-care. You know, those are the gaps again when you don't have a parent bring you up.
Yeah.
So you could see a bit of naiveness, because somebody now who is in high school, automatically they should be expecting, like, this is a man, I'm alone in the house. There are possibilities such a thing could happen. So how do I take care of myself? How do I make sure that I'm safe? So things like even locking the door behind you as you go to your room, those simple things. But she was a bit naive, that she did not expect really anything to happen to her. So unfortunately, that's the scenario she found herself in. So again, you can see the gaps in her bringing. Yeah, the things that she missed out, like how do we say no? Asserting the skills, for instance. Yeah, so those simple life skills again, that really nobody was there to bring them up. I mean, to teach her when she was growing up. Again, she finds in a scenario like this where she feels totally helpless, not knowing what to do. Yeah.
I think you'll also agree with me. Sex education is now becoming a bit more pronounced nowadays than some of those years. And there's a time when people are told, even now, children are told that the dangerous men are the boys out there and the dangerous people who can rape you out there. And that is why I think even today, incest is more pronounced within the family setup more than with strangers. It's because you're taught how to protect yourself against
Strangers.
those who are out there, but not how to protect yourself from those who are inside the house. And I think this is something that should be done and should be pronounced by the teachers, by the counselors, by life skill trainers, showing them that even your own dad can turn against you. Yes, and when you get to a certain point in life, men will stop seeing you as just a girl or my daughter. They will start seeing the features of a woman in you. And when the gap is there, because again we cannot really tell about the relationship between that auntie and we don't have that kind of a background. But I think it is good to be able to teach our children that even your own parents, be careful.
Yeah, just always watch out for those signs. Yes.
So before, just to conclude this part of the life, what advice would you give parents regarding, the care of their children, and it's not just the girl child, even the boy child, and probably living children and caregivers and so.
I think the society today has been very, very demanding on the parents. You realize they really have to do so much to just make ends meet. So you find everybody is out there running their careers, trying to do what they could do to make sure they take care of their families, which is a very good thing. But as parents, you forget that that is just one area of the bringing up this child. There are many other aspects that you have to look at, because you're looking at the economic side, making sure that they don't lack anything in the house. And of course, you can see they're growing physically, you can see they're growing and they're changing their bodies. But there are these other aspects we might not be able to see physically, emotional, for example. How are they relating also with other people socially? Cognitive, you can see through their schoolwork. So I think as parents, you also need to look at our children as a whole person. Try and spend time with this child in the midst of your busy schedule. Because it's one thing for me to be present, but it's another thing to be there for my child. And many times when you deal with the young people, later on when they grow up to become teenagers, they tell you, yes, I still my parents, but they're not there. So at some point you'll get lost. What do you mean? Do they live in the same house? Yes, they do. but they're not present. That means you are not in my life. Meaning you don't take time with me. You don't take time to understand what I'm going through, my experiences, my fears. Where do you need to come in as a parent to support me as I grow up? So parents, we need to do that, because when you do that, then you get to know your child better. You'll be able to be free enough to communicate with you. And if there are any challenges, you'll be able to pick them as early as possible. And I think this is where that we could see that gap. This lady comes into a home. First and foremost, as Beatrice comes, she's not even aware why she came. And I think from her story, she will tell you there was a discussion between the mom and the auntie. And she was not involved in that discussion, that she were going to move to a new place. So a lot is already going through her, remembering from her childhood experience to where she is. So to the point that that confidence is not there, self-esteem already is an issue for her. So she really needed a strong support system for her to just be able to, somebody to reaffirm to her and to reassure to her that really, I am there and I'm going to walk you through this journey. And I think that's what parents need to do with their children. That 5-10 minutes, it's very, very important. You'll be able to catch up with your child and know if there's anything that you need to do as a parent to address. And then, of course, training our children. It's one thing to tell them, do this, it's another thing to train them. Because that is what the Bible says. I'm sure Pastor will tell us, train your child. Why did the Bible tell us teach your child? Because teach your child means I can tell you to do something and I do something else. But as I train you, I am your role model. So as this particular child is growing up. So I think parents, we need to really get involved in the lives of our children from that particular age. And then now we'll be able to know them, understand them, and be able to support them as they try, as they grow or they develop through their life stages. Because there's one thing of growing up, their developmental milestones that they're also trying to achieve as they grow up. Yes.
Yeah, for me I would say that majority of the spiritual problems begin with either a behavior or something physical. For example, for someone to be addicted, you will begin with a behavior until now it gets to a place that becomes spiritual. When we talk about the spirit of rejection, it begins with those psychological things. When you are pregnant, that child is rejected already while still in the womb. And so even when you are born, those words that are spoken against you will cause a lot of effect in your life. And by the time this thing becomes spiritual, a lot of negativity has been pumped into you such that you yourself reject yourself. You reject yourself and you despise yourself, and your self-worth goes down. Your ego goes down. And if you're not taken care of, or if it is not dealt with, then just as I said from the beginning, that becomes your norm. That you even expect, I'll be rejected. I do this, I know how I won't make it. You go for this interview just knowing chances are high I will not make it. That's self-rejection. And I would urge parents, speak positive to your children. Getting pregnant may be by mistake, but getting a child is not a mistake. How you got pregnant is a problem, but pregnancy is not a problem. Because there is no child who can come to this world except by God's appointment. There is no. We may call it an accident, but every life is important before God. And this is why when you look at the Bible, you will see that Solomon is actually one of the greatest kings. But who is the mother? It is Uriah's wife. Okay? And when we speak a lot of negatives in our lives, our children grow up negatively, rejecting themselves. Others go into rebellion. Others go into hard-headedness because I know I won't be accepted. So I would urge parents, when a mistake happens, don't dwell on the mistake. Don't build your child's life on the basis of your foundation. Yes, they made you maybe miss high school. Maybe you could have finished. How many people finished and they are well married but they are still poor? How many people do we know that actually got pregnant, got back to school, and they continued with their lives? And today the two of them are great people. It depends with how you handle the situation after the mistake is done. If you choose to dwell on the mistake, then the problem continues. If you choose that I did a mistake, own it, and then move on with it. For example, when Betty's mother finished high school and showed great love to this child, there are every chance that they would have built a bond, and Betty would have finally become a very great person. And that is why you're seeing that at some point they still had to come together, and she still ended up becoming of so much help. Suppose the mother accepted the responsibility and say that I will deal with my problem, own my problem, and move on, and then correct the future. We never correct our past. We can only mend our future. So don't destroy the future because of the history.
Allow me also to add something to what Pastor has said.
Yeah.
I think family values, beliefs are very important. That as we bring up our children, let them know what we stand for as a family. Let them know what we believe in as a family. Let them know what are the guiding principles in life. That way, as they grow up, you've already given them a path and a direction to follow. So that now if they know it is wrong to do this, you have to say please. That child, as they grow up, when something else happens, they have something like a marking skill or something they can use to benchmark with what they have been taught. So they'll be confident enough to say this is wrong because when I was brought up, I was taught this. So again, that helps a lot, and even as they grow up, they'll have a path that they can use to lead them through their lives. So family values, beliefs are very, very important. Yes.
There's one more thing. The auntie. What are the things that she missed? Because she's like they're living, three of them, but like they are not living. She's not part of this
family.
Yeah.
I think I had Pastor say talk about it because she would come and go.
Yeah.
She would come and go, and I'm trying to imagine why would you go with this girl? Okay. If they're going to visit, is it a granny or someone? Anyone who was that responsible will not really leave this child alone in the house. They'll always feel it's safer if I went with them, we come back together. And having known her, things like her disappearing from home, she's been in school. What are you doing in school? And this is not times for school. Schools are already closed. There are many questions that I think she didn't have time to ask. It just tells me a bit of negligence in that area. Probably she felt this is not my child as such. She did not feel obliged as such to follow up and ask questions. I see a bit of that lack of responsibility in the bringing up of this child. I think for her, the fact that she provided accommodation and school fees were paid, she felt that was it. But she didn't realize she had a role to play as a mom in the life of Beatrice.
Now, this is very interesting. This child is a third party in this house.
Yeah.
The other thing, if you've been rejected in your place, why do you think I should care so much about you? For a mother who has a relationship with her child, now in this case you're talking about the aunt, a child with a problem of that magnitude, if you're a sensitive parent, you can easily tell that something is wrong with this girl. Maybe she should even have suspected that she has slept with a boy, let alone the husband. A girl who has gone out there with a man, and it is the first time, and it is within a day, I'm telling you, as a caring mother, you cannot miss it. You will tell something is not right, even with the mood. Now, this child is also taking advantage that the aunt does not even care. That is why when she comes the following day, she just assumes she was in church. Yeah, she was just somewhere there in church with some friends. And so as she's saying, there is a very careless attitude about the aunt. There is the don't care attitude. Furthermore, you're not mine. I'm doing what I should be doing. About how you live and how you walk and what you do. That's not my part. Mine is to provide accommodation and food. As long as you've eaten and all that, that's all I care. 3, you could also tell that she's probably also not enjoying so much being with this child. It's not something that she's so happy. Because how... Oh, naivety also plays a part here. You do not leave a man and a grown-up daughter in the same house, and it is not a biological daughter, and you're just so comfortable. Probably you should even tell a neighbor, check for me that girl. I'm going out, please check the girl. But anyway, women are known to protect their houses. I think the Abigail style in the Bible. That even where the husband is a fool and you know he's a fool. Because actually Abigail tells David, please just bear with my husband. He's just like his name. so she knows already he's a fool. And even how he just acted like his name. So probably even the mother knows some of these things and knows this man's weakness. Why am I saying this? Because the brother at the school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What he says that if the girl is saying that he did that, then most like probably there is a chance he did it.
Yeah.
So it means these are known man. They know him.
Yeah.
So leaving that child was a great sense of negligence from her.
And then at the end of the day, she's like siding with him.
And angry. You know, at that time it's all about dignity, the home's dignity. How dare you expose us to the world? After all we've done to you, couldn't you have kept quiet with it? You are an ungrateful child. You start making this girl feel guilty.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mental Wellness Insights. Indeed, a lot of issues have been analyzed, and I am sure if you've watched this episode to the end, you have learned something. Please share with us your comments. We value your comments. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and click on the notification bell. See you in the next episode. Blessings.